Apologies, we already know my laptop hates their sound system, so we're fixing that preemptively. Google, I swear, I know he's using a VPN. It thinks I'm missing it.
You put down my keyboard, it says right there. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, but we know the sound doesn't work.
On the hotel Wi-Fi? Because I can put you on ours.
Well, not now.
true. We got a hard line connection back there.
Thank God for T3.
Big hand for IT the pirate.
Amazing. I literally dropped it down and pulled it back up, and suddenly the microphone has 2 battery bars. Thank you all for coming out on a Sunday morning. I apologize. We already know my laptop doesn't like their sound system passionately. By that I mean it cuts out the sound every 8 seconds. Which is hilarious. But yes, I know it was not easy for any of you to get up this morning. I went to the game room last night. Mistakes were made. Again. I need to stop going to the game room.
Never.
They got Breath of the Wild.
They were playing a Christmas game.
That's
Beautiful.
Seconds.
Remember, it's Windows 9 too.
Yes, I know. It's 45 seconds of Windows time, which might be 45 seconds or 45 years. Depending on the level that Daddy Gates wishes to make you suffer this morning. It's not my laptop! By the way, I use 7-zip!
7-zip is superior. 7-zip is
What the fuck did you download? Oh my god, don't. Maybe a little bit. Where's the download? No, it's Chrome. It's Chrome. It's Chrome.
screen on too much in the dark.
Where the
I get the
this is coming through? That means it did download. Yeah, it did download. Don't use Chrome. This is why. It doesn't have a full
Firefox is way
to
better.
run this from Chrome.
Edge is better.
Oh.
The Edge is now just Chrome, but it's even like the
because I'm gonna have to run this from.
You should be better at least than the other Wi-Fi, hopefully.
Yeah, but I'm gonna have to run this straight from Drive because.
Yeah, I see. That's screw it, we'll do it live.
Hey! Oh, is it working? No, Google. I hate Chrome with an absolute passion because it does not understand I want to open two windows at the same time and open the same thing.
It hates you too.
That's pretty clear.
It is Google and they are now just people, so.
He's right.
On Facebook, aka Meta. Maybe
Now, you see the video theory. I should have it on there first. Awesome. Yes. Alright.
At least in theory, I hope this works. If it doesn't work, I'm gonna scream it into the void. There, that's a good solution. In the meantime, good morning, everyone. Hi. How are you? You woke up for this.
Yeah.
I'm both proud of you and surprised. I expected 3 people to wake up at 9 a.m. on a Sunday.
I always wake up at
There are 10 times as many of you in this room.
Brony Church, man.
I counted. There's 31 people in this room, including me. Which means that there's 29 of you because I have to torture him regardless because he gets to be here. I love you. So, we're here today to, well, I'm going to explain to you why I watch a show for small children. Who am I? I am Fiora. I blow stuff up. You guys have seen me at 7 other panels this weekend. I hope. Maybe. Possibly. Or at least one of them. If you haven't, I feel bad. Because that means that I'm not obvious enough. I have 10 years doing academic research. I have published academic papers. I have a bachelor's from the University of Delaware in human sexuality, and I have a master's in human communication from Rutgers University. Guess what? I use those things to study fandoms. Or science. I don't get paid to do this. Instead, the fandoms pay me to do this, which is kind of a weird thing to say. Patrons of science are the people I'm studying. Okay. Anyway, I will talk more about who this character is later, probably at some point. But in the meantime, if you want to blame somebody for all of the panels I do, blame Diamond Dia Doodle. She's a founder of BabsCon. She walked in one morning and went, "How old are the ponies?" 72 hours later and no sleep, I gave her an answer and passed out. And then woke up at BabsCon and was like, "How did I get here?" "Oh, we just drug you out to the car." So we're going to explore a bunch of stuff. I'm going to give you fair warning. I'm going to talk about suicide. I'm going to talk about depression. I'm going to talk about anger issues. I'm going to talk about parenting. I'm going to talk about orphans. I'm going to talk about abandonment. I'm going to talk about death. If you feel like you have to get up and leave for a minute, I'm not going to be mad. However, we're going to start off nice and light and easy and hopefully entertaining. So, a lot of us have this problem where talking to other people, especially strangers, is difficult, hard, and, well, honestly, it sucks. Who here talked to the person on the airplane next to them on the way here?
I drove a lot.
Okay, who asked the gas station attendant how their day was? See? Hard to talk to strangers. And the show illustrates this very succinctly because what's the first thing that happens when Twilight gets to Ponyville? Let's go find out.
Look on the bright side, Twilight. The princess arranged for you to stay in a library. Doesn't that make you happy?
Yes. Yes, it does. You know why? Because I'm right. I'll check on the preparations as fast as I can, then get to the library to find some proof of...
This is her plan.
Things to talk about.
And this is what we expect to happen when we introduce ourselves to someone.
Hello?
That's what we all expect to happen, right?
Interesting, all right. My name is Twilight Sparkle.
Here's what actually happens.
Well, how'd it do, Miss Twilight? A pleasure making your acquaintance. I'm Applejack. We here at Sweet Apple Acres sure do like making new friends. Friends? Actually, so, what can I do you for? Well, I am in fact...
Some of the most wonderful moments I have had is talking to a stranger on the plane and leaving as someone I know. There's a guy named Richard. I talked to him on the way to Salt Lake City. I still talk to him. He was going there to see his daughter play soccer for college. I learned a whole lot about soccer I didn't know. Such as the fact that soccer fans apparently find it insulting that you call it soccer. And Richard still talks to me despite the fact that that trip was in 2018 to Crystal Mountain PonyCon. It's kind of weird now that I think about it. But you know what? He's an okay guy. On the way over here, I met Doreen, which is a really old name because she was like 70 and retired. And her husband had convinced her to read Red Storm Rising by Tom Clancy, which is something I read when I was 16. It's a terrible book, legitimately. But you know what? It's fascinatingly interesting after you think about it in retrospect. It's still bad to read. And I gave her the entire synopsis of the entire plot on the way over here. And then she acted like she finished the book in front of her husband who was sitting next to her who was asleep the whole time. And she could actually describe to him the main plot point. So he's convinced that she read the book. Apparently I became a convenient lie. See, these are the stories you find. It's more interesting to not take out your iPod or your laptop or your cell phone and put in earphones and completely ignore the person next to you. And instead, the moment you sit down on a plane or a bus or you have to share an Uber, you just turn to the person and you go, "Hi, my name is, what's yours?" And suddenly you're not strangers and you have a reason to talk. And suddenly your trip goes by a lot quicker than it should have, because my trip should have taken 8 hours and I do not believe for 2 seconds it took me 8 hours to get here. I remember takeoff and landing and that's it. Oh, and Doreen. I remember Doreen. Which is kind of, the point. So, now we're going to jump off the deep end. And we're not coming back. I apologize. The hole goes really far down. I assure you that Alice is looking down and going, how much deeper? Well, let's see. Who here's felt guilty or upset that you did something or even ashamed? Can't see it, but I'm smiling like an idiot. Okay, I don't want to move the file, Google. I want you... Thank you.
Punish myself for the evil I caused this night.
This is the biggest, heaviest, thickest guilt complex I've ever seen. It's world-ending consequences because you feel guilty.
Myself for how much Equestria suffered because of me. But it seems I have
It's also an excellent representation of how guilt works. Guilt's regressive. It's a cycle. You feel guilty, you think about what you did, you feel guilty about what you did, you're back to square one.
How can I forgive myself? I am no better now.
Rainbow Dash is right, which is kind of weird to say.
Creation is about to turn the world into a living nightmare. But look at what you're doing. Nightmare.
It takes the affirmation and confirmation of others to validate that you have atoned.
That proves you're not the same pony you were then. Every pony who knows you knows that Nightmare Moon is in the past. We all trust you, Luna. Do you trust us enough to believe we're right?
And the moment you believe them, you stop feeling guilty. That's weird. Because that's how actual life works. Granted, you don't have a tantibus that wants to destroy the world, but you know.
Speak for yourself.
Whoopsie! Right, the Cthulhu monster in the room just revealed himself. Good job. But we feel guilty about stuff we've done because we're human. It's natural. To assume that our empathy for others is wrong is silly. However, others are the ones who have to tell us that we have done enough to make up for the thing we did. And until they do, we have a tendency to keep trying to make up for it. Guess what? The show just covered what is effectively 6.5 months of therapy for most people in less than a minute. A 30-minute episode covered 6 months of therapy. Okay. And now we're going to get into some fun stuff. Because that made you all feel guilty. That made you all probably a little upset and remembering something shameful you did in the 3rd grade. Go ahead, be mad at me, it's fine. I'm okay with this. I will accept my fate. But now that you're mad, let's talk about it. Let's see. I hated this episode when it came out with an absolute passion. I had to MC this episode at BabsCon because I was playing Queen Quake. But it actually has a good point.
Ice cream. Oh, maybe we should check out the Crystal Empire because Twilight.
Trixie is just going through her day. As Starlight asked her.
Okay, we better start moving if we want to make it to the Crystal Empire.
But everything Trixie says makes Starlight upset.
Because you seem a little. What's the word?
Greatest line of all time.
Flat.
No, I am great.
And this is how it looks to suppress your rage.
Look at it here. What's in this?
Now, I'm not saying let your rage out immediately and immediately go at somebody's throat. But when we bottle up our anger, we're not ourselves. When we try to contain the fact we're mad, everything that the person who we're mad at does makes us more mad. Look at her sitting over there eating saltine crackers like she owns the place. Now if somebody was actually eating saltine crackers, that would have been priceless. Point is, they're sitting over there just having lunch. They've done nothing wrong, but because I'm mad at that person, they can sit in the corner by themselves and eat saltine crackers, and I still want to punch their face in. Until you express that you're mad at to someone, that's how that works. Now, to do so in a healthy manner would be to go, hi, I'm upset. I'm actually mad. Here's why. Can we work this out? And that's how an adult would do it. How Starlight does it, she bottles it up, eventually it flies out, and it proceeds to make 3 people enragingly, lethally, murderously mad at Trixie. Don't do that. Still convinced, Starlight's a bad pony. But yeah, the show goes over how to deal with anger and guilt. Now you're all a little depressed because you've remembered something that you felt guilty about. Now someone you felt mad about that you never worked it out. Yeah, we've all had that. I've had that. If you haven't had that, oh my God, can I have your perfect life? I'm not even being sarcastic. But let's see. How does depression work?
Say it. Tell me.
Spike is not a character here.
They don't like my parties. They don't want to be my friends.
He's a sounding board.
Your friends are all lying to you and avoiding you because they don't like your parties and they don't want to be your friends anymore. I knew it. Oh no. My friends don't like my parties and they don't want to be my friends anymore.
So yeah, Spike's a sounding board. When we are depressed, when we are upset, Depression is a cyclical cycle just like guilt. I feel depressed. I don't want to do anything. I think my friends don't want anything to do with me. I feel depressed. Rinse and repeat infinitum. You can literally sit at your desk all day feeling depressed because you decided that was how it was going to be. Depression, just like guilt, requires an outside force, that is to say, outside social interaction, to intervene. Spike being a sounding board is not intervening. Spike is only affirming and therefore maintaining the cycle of depression until Pinkie Pie deflates. Her friends actually having thrown a party for her and dragging her to it is breaking that cycle. Depression and guilt are two things you cannot break out of on your own. It's impossible. I hate to say that, but that's the truth. Entire wars have been lost because a general was depressed about the death of his son and felt guilty, and would not express it to others, and instead continued down a path that led eventually to the destruction of his entire empire. Thank you, Julius Caesar. If you've actually read the entire biography of Caesar, you know that his son died a year before he was assassinated, and that they only decided to assassinate him once he started going crazy. So, that's how depression works. And the show goes over it, little by little. Now listen up, the next slides don't have a lot of pictures, that's on purpose. I have a lot to cover, and I only have an hour and a half to do it. Even less time because we were trying to work out a tech issue before we got a tech issue. Preempt a problem and you create a whole new one. Come on. Love you too, Google. Let's talk about the most depressed character in the show.
Deep Twilight Sparkle. Princess, I'm sorry it hasn't worked out how we wanted. But you have to believe me when I tell you that Nightmare Night is one of the most popular celebrations we have. Yes, I can tell by all the adoring shrieks of the children as they run away. Princess.
When you have rejection is the most common symptom prior to depression. We experience rejection every day, whether it's small or large. Some of us, it's silly things like there's not enough money in my bank account. Others of us, it's I tried to ask a girl out and she decided that she hated me. We need to understand that as you make it easier to say yes, it becomes harder to say no. Luna doesn't fit in Nightmare Night because she doesn't realize that her role in Nightmare Night isn't to be the center of attention that everyone's happy to see. Her role in Nightmare Night is to scare people for fun. And once she understands that and changes that role, she becomes accepted and she accepts that this can be fun. So, how do we see that? Let's think about it. How much easier is it for your boss at work to say yes to something if you've already got an action plan ready to go and you explain to him who's going to do what and how they're going to do it and when they're going to do it and how it's not going to interfere with anyone else's schedule, versus coming up and asking, hey, can we just not do this way? It's 10 times harder for him to say, well, no, if you come up to him with a full-bore plan of how to implement it on the spot. Because he has to give you a reason why your plan won't work. And if he can't, he has to let you try it. You've now set it up where rejecting you is harder. Taking a bath, having your hair groomed, wearing nice clothes, and being confident is a lot harder for someone to say, no, I'm not going out on a date with you, than it is if you show up